Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we are doing a tutorial. This is not just a regular speed edit video. Today I'm going to walk you through some things that some of you suggested I teach you about, and I wanted to make like a series as I've always done, but a few of these things that you suggested wouldn't take enough time to make a full video, so I just decided to compile them all into this video, and hopefully it won't be too much. I'll put timestamps in the video for you to go to your section or what you really want to learn the most, so it won't be too much to take in, of course. So without further ado, I'm not going to keep you long. Let's get started. I have my blank canvas here, and a bunch of you want to know what my sizes are in Photoshop, and normally it would be 3000 by 3000, or if your computer takes higher quality images, then I would say 5K. Your pictures would be 5000 by 5000. Okay, so I've already made one here. I just have a blank canvas, and then I have my two example pictures. I have this Ariana Grande and just this random sunset beach. So first and foremost, I'm going to take my beach or my sunset picture, and I'm going to size it up so we have a background. Okay, and then I'm going to take my lasso tool and I'm just gonna quickly cut this out. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm just gonna merge these two layers together so they're just the background, and then we're gonna name this Ari. What we're going to do is we're going to create a layer mask, and we're going to use the pen tool to select just the basic parts of Ariana. You don't want any of this background. I wouldn't suggest ever applying your layer mask unless you're totally sure that it's perfect. I don't ever do them. I don't ever like apply my layer mask until I've merged the entirety of the canvas. So don't touch it. Just don't touch it. What I do want to do though is blur the background, since it's actually really low quality. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Filter, Blur, and Surface Blur. It's just going to give it a nice blur. Actually, you might want to make a copy first before we do that. I think we're going to do lighting effects that both Graphics by Nini, hopefully I said that right, I'm sorry, and Afterglow Graphics suggested, and I'll put their question up there so you guys can see shadows and lighting. Of course you guys want to know how I do that, so we're just going to go ahead and do those first, since it's usually the part that I go to anyway. Unless you want to do like makeup. I don't think I'm going to make this like a full edit. It's just to show you what's going on. Let's go to image and levels. What I suggest doing, if you guys do not want to have the continuous adjustment layers like stacked on top like this, then I would suggest, it is more tedious, I guess. You would have to be for sure that your adjustments are what you want before pressing OK, or else you can't really edit it if you did press OK. And if you made a mistake, like say I put it like this and I pressed OK, you can't really edit it over here like if you had an adjustment layer up here. So I would just be careful. You can of course undo it and then retry. It's just to keep your layers panel slightly more easy to follow. Alright, so we're going to go to levels, and let's go to the red channel and see what happens. I'm just going to bring up the red a little bit, and then my green. This is more of just knowing your adjustment layers as well. I would definitely suggest playing around with a lot of them just to get a feel. Alright, that looks okay. The next one I'm going to work with, let's go to color balance, and we're in the midtones, so it's going to color majority of the picture, I would say, but if you go to like highlights, it's just gonna color your highlights and make it brighter, and then your shadows. Hopefully you saw the difference in those. I'm not really good at explaining that. And I think what we're going to work with, I liked what the highlights did. We're going to work with the highlights. We're going to put more of a yellow. Always, always, always go in the color scheme of your background. I mean, it would be pretty pointless if you didn't. So always do that. My color scheme is like an orange, red kind of tinted. It's not blue. Like if we went to a blue, it would just look wrong. But it's fine if it's a little pink, because you see some pink up here and down here. So, alright, I'm pleased with those. If you want to, you can adjust the shadows. Sometimes the shadows look weird, so I don't do those sometimes. I mainly just stick to midtones and highlights. Majority of this is going to be like painted on light effects, but I'm wondering if I should go ahead and do the other two suggestions before I go into real in-depth shadowing. So what we're going to do is we are going to do another suggestion by Majestic Graphics. They suggested I teach you how to do a tear. If you guys know, a lot of my edits are like distressed and sad for some reason. Sorry. I don't know why I'm apologizing. So yeah, I'm going to teach you guys how to do a tear. There's a bunch of different ways on how to do them. You can either paint on your tears, or there's another method that I will show you. So I'm just going to show you the method that I always go to, even though sometimes it doesn't work out. That's okay. It's all part of the process. You're going to take your lasso tool, and you're just going to select the bottom part of your object's eyes. Almost like it's a tear, right? And then you're going to press Control J on your keyboard. You're just going to make a copy of that, of just the eyes that are selected. You're going to go to Filter. You have to go to Filter Gallery, if I'm not mistaken. And you want to go under the Artistic tab and Plastic Wrap. You see how it looks like tears? Like, you can of course adjust everything. Like the detailing, you can adjust the smoothness. And then you press OK, and there are your tears. Sometimes, of course, they're harsh. You want to take your layer mask and smoothen some parts. Sometimes it does like that weird grayish, dark gray tone. I don't like that. It's annoying. That's why sometimes this method doesn't really work so well. And then my other method is you take your brush. Make sure it's on low hardness always, and you're going to want to set your flow and opacity levels up here to around 20, maybe 30. Make sure your brush is really small, and then I would suggest picking like a light skin tone color. Make sure you're on a new layer, by the way. Always make sure you're on a new layer, just in case you mess up. Okay, we're just going to try it 100% see what happens. And you just want to like draw a tear. You can smudge out the edges. It could easily be mistaken for sweat. Just make sure if you're doing like a dramatic like crying effect, I always suggest like, putting like some like makeup splotches, if you know what I mean, to make it more dramatic and realistic. Just some like mascara running down your face kind of thing. Just to play around with it a little bit. I don't like to use the drawing the tear method as much, unless this just looks really crappy, which I don't think it looks. Well, I guess the only reason why is because we haven't changed like her facial expressions. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna liquefy her face. We're just gonna angle her eyebrows to be upwards. I don't know how to explain that. I'll just show you. I've started to paint around my wanted area of liquefying, because sometimes it just messes up like eyelid space and all that, so I've just started to do that. So you're going to take the very first tool that's up here, make sure that's, and you're just going to bring her eyebrows up, kind of like she's sad. And we're also going to just make her frown a little bit. So let's go back to my method of doing that skin tone like tear. Let's go through our blend modes. Always test out your blend modes. Your blend modes are going to be your best friend. Just drew like this weird like fish hook to indicate a tear, and my blend mode's on soft light right now, but it looks very orange, so I'm going to see if I lower the saturation, it'll look somewhat better. Let's see what happens if we just erase this. Okay, that wasn't bad. What we're going to do now is we're going to make another layer. Let's play with this white here, just to indicate the highlight of a tear. You don't want it to be too much. You want it to be natural. Natural, natural, natural. It's good to follow like the cheek structure instead of just drawing a line and doing that. Again, the more dramatic like the eyes are, so let's say she's been crying a lot, so we want to add like red puffiness. So pick a red color. You can maybe even give her red eyes. Just like a crying person. Like what do you see in a crying person? You see a red nose. I see a lot of red noses. Red cheeks, red ears, just like stuff like that. There you go. See the difference? She looks a little more sad. So let's do highlight and contouring next, because that was also my suggested. So let's make a new layer on top of all of what we just did. And you're going to want to go to Edit, Fill, and 50% Gray. You're going to want to change your blend mode to Overlay. You're always going to want to use your dodge and your burn tool for this. I don't ever use the sponge tool. I think that's to like make it black and white, I believe. I've never ever, oh maybe I have, but not recently. I don't use it as much. It's very, very rare. And we're going to take our burn tool. Your ranges are going to be used to you. Let's say if you have highlights that you want to get rid of. You see where there's highlights right here, or maybe we'll do her shoulder. And you want to get rid of those highlights. Then you would just burn the highlights. See where it's burning right there? We actually want to keep those highlights because they're very useful. And then your midtones is what I would suggest using for like your contour on cheekbones and all that. If it gets to be too much, you can always turn down the opacity on either your brush or your layer. Let's not do shadows, midtones for this one. Let's do highlights so it's not so harsh. I always think of it like if you're actually doing your makeup, make like the 3, go on your forehead. And I'm going to show you before and after. So this is before, this is after. There we go. Okay, that's decent. I don't know if that was me or her actual makeup, but alright, so now we're going to do the dodge tool. Your dodge tool is your highlighter. She's already got a bunch of highlight right here, so I'm just going to enhance that. And I always do midtones for this. I don't think it, unless you want to enhance highlights. And I've recently discovered, if you didn't want, you see how smooth that was? Let me go forward again. You see how smooth it is instead of like this, this natural looking skin effect that she has. It kind of looks like she has glitter on her face. Instead of like doing the dodge tool for that, I've discovered that there's actually a Photoshop brush, aka the brushes that come in Photoshop, that looks exactly like skin texture, and it's the 24 brush. I hope you should have it because it did come with the presets and all that. And make sure you're on a new layer. I would make a new layer underneath this gray layer, and I would just paint. Don't worry, we'll change the blend mode in a second, but you see how it's like skin texture almost? It's kind of like the texture of this. Of course, you can lower your opacity. Isn't that amazing? It's a Photoshop preset brush. I was like, girl, what? You've been hiding that brush from me all along? Either that or I just wasn't paying attention to what brush I should be using. So like you can make a nose highlight here. You can do this inner corner here. Even enhance these tears that we got going on. It's also perfect for like glitter eyeshadow effect. Beautiful. To practice with this method as well, I highly suggest using this one instead of highlighting on this. You still can, but if you wanted to, I would paint over with this brush just to make it more realistic. I'm just going to add more highlight now. I'm going to go back to the gray layer. Okay, so before and after, before, after. And then with this this glittery Photoshop preset brush, before, after. So what I also want to do is I want to enhance this earring, and this is also a Photoshop preset brush. I either use 70 or 26. Let's go with 70. It's a sparkle brush. Show you before and after. Before, after. You could use that sparkle brush over here too if you wanted to. I wouldn't suggest dragging it not like that. It's only sometimes it looks cute, but not all the time. Okay, so I think I'm satisfied with that. What we're going to do now is we are going to do the hair part. The hair part, I'm going to put a disclaimer right now that I do use a tablet. Of course, you do not have to have a tablet to be able to draw hair strands. You just have to use the same settings as I do, and it should be fine. So let's make a new layer. I'm sorry I gave up on naming the layers. I'm really bad at that. First, let's go over here since this is the main hair that we got. So your best friends in this part are going to be your eyedropper tool, your brush tool, and when you go on your brush tool, your opacity and your flow. Always keep your opacity and your flow at around, I would say 20 or 40, sometimes even 30, just to get a feel. And always make sure your brush is very, very small if you want detailed hair strands, which you do. Let's go ahead and get my eyedropper tool and select the main hair color. And you're just gonna, usually when you have a tablet, the brush dynamics are gonna be like this. It's gonna like fade out. This is the only perk of, well, I mean there's a lot of perks, but an extra perk of having a tablet is this feathering at the end. You can't get that if you, like, if I turn this off, this is what your brush would normally look like, but this is what the tablet does. It's kind of like a pressure, pen pressure, so let's see if I can do it up here. So if I were to put really hard pressure, I cannot do that up there. Hold on. If I put really hard pressure on my canvas, then it would do that, but if I just lightly, it's like that. Well, let's start painting. I never have like a strict method, I just go at it. I do suggest like rotating it. You always want to like blend, you see the edge, the edge that I cut obviously. Satisfied with that. So we're going to do it before and after. So this is before, after, before, after. And then let's go up here to this darker part. Select that shade. And then make sure my brush is tiny. You might even have to do a darker color at some point. It's just, I would suggest keeping your finger on the Alt button if you need to change colors. It's easier. And then I have some hairs up here. Okay, so let's do before and after of the hair strands. Before, after, before, after. So now we can get to the shadowing and light effects. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a new layer. And this is going to be my yellow layer. I'm going to take a swatch that I have and I'm just going to paint yellow over as much as I can. Turn your flow back up. Make sure you're on clipping mask. That helps. Okay, that yellow. You can of course play with your blend modes. Okay, now the second layer is going to be like, if you wanted to, you can take like an example. I also suggest putting the navigator screen up here so you can see what the hell you're doing. I like looking at the navigator a lot to see how my canvas is looking. Okay, let's see if we can blur this one out just a little bit. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to lighten this up a little bit, and I also see, hold on one second, I see like this stray, what the hell is that? It's bothering me. I think I'm going to lighten this up just a little bit, so I'm going to go back to my levels. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to this gray layer. You see how it's like dark right here? We're going to brighten that up. What you can also do is, oh my gosh, I forgot to do something, and that's annoying that I forgot to do that. I forgot to draw on the eyelashes. That's okay, easy fix, easy fix. You're just going to use the same settings as the hair when you do lashes, just the same settings. If you wanted to, you can go ahead and enhance more highlight on her face. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to darken just the center of this. Things that'll make it more prominent. That's not the word to use, but I've used it, so it's alright. We're going to go to midtones on our gray layer. We're just going to darken up this middle part. If it's too much, of course, we can change the opacity. Okay, and this is when I'm going to start playing with my colors. I always suggest to play with your colors. It's very nice. Just got a weird thing going on here. Hold on 1 second. I think it's just a shadow. Sunset pictures are really cool to do. They're very nice. It's definitely a better practice of lighting and shadows and all of that, so I suggest doing that. If you wanted to at this point, you can play with your coloring, all of that to get what you want. Play around with a bunch of your stuff, and then that is where I'm going to end my video. Hopefully this helped in some way. I just am genuinely really bad at explaining. I tried to give as much pointers as I could. Let's see, what did we go over today? We went over tears, we went over shadowing and light effects, we went over highlight, contour, hairs. That's really all I got suggestions for. Of course, if you guys have any more suggestions, I'm open to them because I love to help you out with your editing. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments if you have any more tutorial ideas. I would be happy to help out. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you're all staying safe and not going out, even though some laws, or not laws, I guess, some states are opening back up again. Please just be safe. Always be safe, okay? Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next video. Bye!